Have you ever had a moment where everything on paper was screaming a yes and your gut was screaming equally loud with a no? And you realized at the end that even though everything looked perfect on paper, your gut was actually correct. In this video, I'm going to break down what's happening when logic is saying yes and gut is saying no. Hello everybody, I am Vaishali Nikhade. I am an engineer turned psychic with over 9,000 readings, and I show you how you can leverage the power of the spirit, aka intuition, as well as the power of the stars in order to be able to create momentum in your life. At the end of this video, you are going to look at everything very differently when it comes to saying a yes based purely on logic. So here's what you're going to learn in this video. What intuition actually is, what intelligence actually is, how logic and intuition differ in their ability to come to a conclusion, and how to strengthen your intuitive muscles by flexing them on a weekly basis. And I'm also going to introduce you to the Cosmic Chronicle, which is something I have developed so that you can flex your intuitive muscles every week. And just by flexing them every week, you are increasing your ability to use them and in the process strengthening your intuition. So let's get started. The first point is, what is intuition? I'm going to dive on this very briefly here. I have another video on intuition, which is titled Intuition, Your Secret Weapon When You Don't Know What to Do. So I'm going to link that in the comments, so feel free to watch that one as well. For the purpose of this video, intuition is a sense of the spirit. Just like we have physical senses, which is eyes giving us the sense of vision, ears giving us the sense of hearing, skin giving us the sense of touching, tongue giving us the sense of tasting, and I missed one more, which is the nose giving us the sense of smelling. So those are our physical senses. Intuition, however, is more a sense of the spirit, and the spiritual senses work very differently than the physical senses. So just like, I'm just going to take one example and then you can kind of extrapolate it to everything else, but think of your eyes and the sense of vision, which is, most of us are fortunate enough to be born with two eyes and have vision and be able to see, let's say, what is in front of me, and what is limiting how far I can see is the strength of my eyes. So essentially, my vision is bound by distance or space. It is also bound by time, which means that I can only see something in present time. I don't really know how this space looked in the past, and I don't know how that space is going to look in the future. But for sure, I can tell what's there in present time. Intuition, however, works very differently because it does not have that bound of space and it does not have that bound of time. So what does it mean? It means that the bound of space, which means that it doesn't necessarily see up to a certain point. For instance, let's say that I am sitting in my home in California and I can only see a little bit because my vision is very limited. I can only see up to a certain point from my home or wherever I am in front of my computer. But as far as intuition is concerned, not only I can see inside my home, I can see what's happening in the other room. I can see what's happening in Texas, I can see what's happening in New York, I can see what's happening in India, and so on. So essentially, that is kind of eliminating the bound of space. And then eliminating the bound of time is not only being able to see the present, but also being able to see the past and also getting access to what is potentially going to happen in the future. I have a video below about using your intuition by leveraging your clairvoyance, which is how clairvoyance gave me a thrill ride. I'm going to link that in the comments below, and it has a detailed example of leveraging the power of your intuition in order to access something that is going to happen in the future. So because intuition works so differently, it also requires you to be able to connect you to it. So that is as far as intuition is concerned. So just to summarize, it is a sense of the spirit, and it has access to things not only in the present but also in the past as well as the future. So now we come to the next point, which is what is intelligence? Intelligence is actually an acquired skill, or most of it is actually an acquired skill. A part of it is using your intuition, but that's like a very small part of it. Most of it is actually the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills in certain situations. And most of the times, this relates to studying something that has already been proven. For instance, let's say that you are a student and you're studying physics and you're solving certain equations. Already the laws have been laid out. All you have to do is kind of plug things in proper places and get the whole thing in a format which looks very close to how the premises, and then you can kind of get the answer. So intelligence is your ability to kind of comprehend something that has already been proven and to be able to come to a reasonable conclusion or a reasonable solution based on that. So that is as far as intelligence is concerned. So now we come to the next point, which is how logic and intuition differ in their ability to come to a conclusion. So as I mentioned before, logic is more relying on the past, which means that if something happened in the past, it is very likely that the same thing is going to happen in the future. So that is logic, and intuition is relying more on energy, or it is connecting more with energy, whereas logic is connecting more with the physical evidence or the physical matter, so to say. So where does real intelligence come in? Real intelligence comes in when you know that logic is going to be violated. And this is something which logic cannot do, only intuition can do that. It can point out when the logic is going to be violated. And there was an example I gave in a previous video, which is there was a lady who came to me for her work, and essentially it was just before COVID. COVID hadn't happened yet. And the reading wasn't making sense at all because according to logic, she was supposed to drive to work. And when I asked that question, the answer came to be a no. And she was telling me that the only way she could work is she had to physically be at work in order to be able to do her work. And that is her logic speaking. And essentially, intuition is violating logic because COVID is setting in and she no longer has to go to work. So we are going to take another example, and this is that of Sarah. And Sarah had actually a job offer from, let's say, company 1. So Sarah has a job offer from company 1. So now if you look at logic, let's say that here she has either lost her job or quit her job or looking for work or whatever the scenario may be, and she interviews and she gets an offer from this company. So as far as logic is concerned, she has an offer. She can go and start working there, and that would be the end of it. However, her gut said that something is kind of off. So because she had flexed her intuitive muscles, she decides to go and interview with company 2. So now she has an offer from company 1 and she has an offer from company 2. And because she had told company 1 that she was going to start working there, she goes and joins company 1. As soon as she joins this company, she finds that everything had changed or things had shifted, in terms of the environment, in terms of the staff, in terms of the people she would be working with, in terms of the bosses, and so on. So essentially, the job is not really to her liking. So now, if she went with logic, then she would have to restart the cycle here and start interviewing until she gets the next offer. However, because she went with her gut, she already had this in her hand. So what she does is she makes a phone call. So let's just say that this is the cell phone. She makes this phone call, and once she makes this phone call, she tells two that, hey, listen, I joined one, but it wasn't really to my liking, so I was interested to come to number two, company number two. And company number two is nice enough to kind of give her the offer again, and she can join company two. So everything checked out logically, everything was good here. But her gut kept saying no, and because her gut kept saying no, she started exploring and she went and got another offer. So essentially, you can say that gut or intuition actually saved the day for her. It's not like that would have been a disaster, but essentially she kind of shortened the whole cycle because she already had like a bird in hand, and all she had to do was connect with that bird by making the phone call. Another way you can do this is by asking the universe for signs, and I have another video on intuition versus signs. Even though it is kind of giving examples of a romantic situation, you can extend it to any area of your life. But essentially, if you feel that your intuition is not strong enough, then you can also leverage the power of signs to be able to aid your intuition and come to the conclusion like Sarah did in order to kind of get the second job offer. So you see how logic said that you have the job offer and that is it, but intuition said no, keep going, and she keeps going, and essentially she kind of saves herself. And she could do that because she had flexed her intuitive muscles enough, and one way to flex the intuitive muscles is using what I have developed, which is known as the Cosmic Chronicle. And essentially what the Cosmic Chronicle does is it gives you a situation to look for every week, and by doing that you are flexing your intuitive muscles, and when you flex it enough times, essentially you have strengthened your intuition. So we move on to the next point, which is how to strengthen your intuitive muscles by flexing them on a weekly basis, and I briefly touched upon this, which is using the Cosmic Chronicle. And the Cosmic Chronicle is something I developed when I was offered a $900 candle in order to be able to solve my problems. No, I did not buy the $900 candle. Instead, I started exploring and looking at things from my own perspective and coming to my own conclusions and learning to read for myself to kind of predict things. And long story short, this led me to develop the Cosmic Chronicle. So how exactly did I develop the Cosmic Chronicle? Well, that is the subject of my next video, which is how a $900 candle led me to developing the Cosmic Chronicle, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!